The stomach contents of specimen BC117 contained partially digested human remains from 3 different individuals, along with carefully prepared medicinal plants and what appeared to be funeral offerings. I'm 54 years old, and for 28 years, I've been a forensic pathologist specializing in cause of death determination for unidentified remains. What I discovered during the autopsy of a frozen Bigfoot in March 2019 didn't just challenge our understanding of these creatures, it revealed they were burying and mourning our dead. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. I'm the former chief pathologist at the Federal Wildlife Forensics Laboratory, and this is the story I was ordered never to tell. Under penalty of federal prosecution, I've violated 3 separate non-disclosure agreements to share this. I've lost my career, my security clearance, my marriage, and any chance of working in legitimate science again. But some truths are too important to stay buried with the people or the beings who carry them. March 14th, 2019. I remember the date precisely because it was the day everything I thought I knew about the world fractured like ice under pressure. I'd arrived at the Federal Wildlife Forensics Laboratory in Ashland, Oregon at 6 in the morning, expecting a routine federal case briefing. Maybe a poached grizzly examination, maybe illegal wildlife trafficking evidence. After 28 years in forensic pathology, I'd published over 40 papers and testified in more than 200 cases. I was respected. I was established. I thought I'd seen everything. The late winter storm hit southern Oregon that morning with unexpected violence, spring snow falling in heavy, wet clumps. The laboratory, a secure Level 3 containment facility of concrete and steel, felt more isolated than usual under the gray sky. When I pulled into the parking lot at 5:47 a.m., my phone rang. Director Raymond Marsh. He never called directly. "Sarah, I need you immediately. Say nothing to anyone." The parking lot was filled with black SUVs. Not our standard fish and wildlife vehicles. Men in suits stood near the entrance, not scientists, wearing earpieces and checking credentials with the intensity of people guarding something extraordinary. They checked my ID 3 times. Then they asked me to surrender my personal phone and smartwatch, lock them in an exterior locker. That's when I knew this wasn't routine. Inside, Director Marsh waited with 2 agents showing FBI badges and a woman in a CDC uniform. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting that peculiar institutional glow that makes everything feel slightly unreal. "We have an unusual biological specimen," Marsh said, his voice tight and formal. "Recovered from a Cascade Range avalanche site on March 10th, transported under ice. It arrived last night." He slid documents across the table, non-disclosure agreements, 20-year gag order, penalties including federal imprisonment spelled out in dense legal language. "What kind of specimen?" I asked. "You'll need to see it." They led me through 3 security checkpoints to examination room C. The temperature dropped as we approached, regulated at 40 degrees. In the center of the room sat a military-grade refrigerated transport pod, 9 feet long, surrounded by vapor from temperature differentials. "Open it," Marsh said. The hydraulic seal released with a hiss. Fog rolled out as the pod opened fully, and through the mist, I saw a massive hand, clearly visible through the ice block. 5 fingers, opposable thumb, but the proportions were wrong. Too large, the fingers too thick. Then I saw the rest of him. He was 8 feet 4 inches tall, measured while frozen in a slight crouch. We estimated 640 pounds based on displacement calculations. Dark brown hair covered 90% of his body in coarse strands 4 to 6 inches long. His face was distinctly humanoid, but with a pronounced brow ridge, flat nose, thin lips. His hands showed calluses on the palms. His feet were 17 inches long with high arches, suggesting bipedal locomotion. For a moment, my scientific training abandoned me entirely. I stepped back from the table, hands shaking. This couldn't be real. This had to be an elaborate hoax. Hollywood effects, sophisticated fabrication, some kind of test. But then I looked closer. The eyes were partially open despite death, showing brown irises with human-like sclera and actual eyelashes. The facial expression appeared peaceful rather than fearful. Most striking, his hands were positioned deliberately across his chest, not in the random sprawl of death. Around his neck hung a woven grass pouch, its contents frozen inside. "You have 72 hours before the ice thaws completely," Marsh said. "I need full autopsy, tissue samples, genetic analysis, stomach contents analysis, toxicology screen, and cause of death determination. Nothing leaves this room. Nothing gets published. You document everything, then all evidence gets classified. After today, this never happened. I should have refused. I should have walked out. But standing there, looking at what might be the most significant anthropological discovery in human history, I couldn't. Someone needed to document this properly. Someone needed to treat him with dignity. I named him Cascade privately. I never used the term it. As I made the first incision through the ice near his abdomen at 9:47 a.m., I was thinking about evolution, about missing links, about rewriting anthropology textbooks. I wasn't prepared for what we'd find inside. I wasn't prepared to discover that they were more human than we ever imagined, and in the most disturbing way possible. The examination lasted 72 hours. My team consisted of 6 scientists, essentially locked in the lab complex for 3 days straight. We slept in 4-hour shifts in on-site quarters. Meals were delivered to the break room. We couldn't leave the building. Armed guards stood outside. Surveillance cameras tracked our every movement. The controlled thaw took 4.5 hours, raising the temperature 2 degrees at a time. By 2 p.m. on March 14th, Cascade was fully thawed. Tissue preservation excellent, despite the trauma of death and freezing. The smell surprised me. Strong, but not unpleasant, musky and organic, nothing like human decomposition. We spent the afternoon on external documentation. I took 847 photographs from every angle, with measurement scales. His arm span measured 9 feet 2 inches, chest circumference 62 inches, skull circumference 28 inches. We successfully obtained fingerprints from all 10 fingers, each showing unique ridge patterns. His fingernails were clean, trimmed, or worn evenly, not jagged. Under 3 fingernails, we found plant material, later identified as medicinal yarrow. Dr. James Way, our forensic anthropologist, cataloged 23 distinct scars across Cascade's body, including what appeared to be healed bear claw marks on his left shoulder. His dental examination revealed 32 teeth with no cavities, wear patterns suggesting 40 to 50 years of use, omnivorous diet evident from the tooth structure. But it was the hands that arrested me. The palms showed calluses consistent with tool use. The opposition capability exceeded human norms, suggesting superior manual dexterity. These weren't the hands of a primitive creature. These were the hands of someone who made things, manipulated objects with precision and purpose. The feet told a similar story. Calluses indicated primarily barefoot locomotion, but the distribution was uneven, less on the heels than expected for a pure bipedal walker. The toe development suggested grasping ability. Sometimes, I realized, he moved on all fours. Sometimes he walked upright. He adapted his locomotion to terrain and need. Then we opened the woven grass pouch around his neck. The cord was made from plant fiber with sophisticated weaving technique. Inside, 6 small river-smoothed stones, dried forget-me-nots, and a small carved wooden figure in humanoid shape, symbolic objects, evidence of spiritual practice or sentimental attachment, objects that implied internal life, meaning-making, perhaps grief or love or memory. Dr. Way actually cried when we laid out the pouch contents. The rest of us stood in uncomfortable silence. Even Marsh, watching from the observation window, seemed unsettled. "Catalog it," he said through the intercom. "That's all." But it wasn't all. It was everything. Because those objects meant Cascade wasn't just a biological specimen, he was a person. Day 2 began at 6 a.m. with the internal examination. I made a standard Y incision from shoulders to sternum down to the pubic bone. The muscle density was extraordinary. I needed significant force to cut through the pectoral muscles. Organ placement was similar to humans but proportionally larger. His heart weighed approximately 3.2 pounds, healthy despite his apparent age. Then I found the scar. Lower right abdomen, healed surgical incision, professional suture pattern consistent with appendectomy. I stared at it for a full minute, scalpel still in hand, trying to process the implications. Someone had performed surgery on this being. Professional medical surgery, which meant either someone in our medical community had encountered his species before, or, and this seemed impossible, they performed medicine on each other. The cardiovascular system revealed an enlarged but healthy heart with no arterial disease, lungs with approximately 9.5-liter capacity adapted for high-altitude living. When we typed his blood, it came back O negative, human blood type. We sent samples for genetic analysis immediately. By 3 p.m., Dr. Rajesh Patel, our geneticist, started preliminary DNA sequencing. At 6:30 p.m., he emerged from the lab looking pale. 98.7% human DNA sequence, he said quietly. He's closer to us than chimpanzees are. They share 98.4%. The divergence suggests separation from our line 400,000 to 600,000 years ago. This isn't an ape. This is a hominin, a human relative, possibly a Denisovan descendant. The room went silent. We weren't performing an autopsy on a creature. We were performing an autopsy on a person without consent. I confronted Marsh. We're dissecting a human being. It's not legally human, he replied. Continue your work. But that night, lying in the narrow cot in the on-site quarters, I couldn't sleep. The 98.7% figure kept cycling through my mind. At what percentage does something deserve human dignity? 95%? 98%? 99%? Where's the line and who gets to draw it? I decided to continue, but with a private vow. I would document everything with the same precision and respect I'd give a human autopsy. Someone needed to be a witness. Someone needed to make sure Cascade's death meant something, even if that meaning never became public. I had no idea how much that decision would cost me. Day 3. March 16, 2019, 7 a.m. We began with the digestive system, standard procedure. Examine the esophagus and stomach, analyze contents for diet information. I expected plant material, maybe animal remains, typical omnivore fare. At 11:47 a.m., I removed Cascade's stomach. It weighed 8.2 pounds full, perhaps 2.5 pounds empty. I placed it in an examination tray and opened it with a scalpel along the greater curvature, releasing approximately 1.5 liters of partially digested material. The contents weren't uniform. Distinct layers suggested multiple meals at different times. The top layer, most recent consumption, had an unusual color and texture. Sarah, Dr. Morrison, my assistant pathologist, said quietly, "Is that bone?" I leaned closer. Bone fragments, yes. 6 pieces between 2 and 4 centimeters long, human-sized. Soft tissue, partially digested, maybe 40 to 60 hours based on the breakdown stage. "Get Dr. Wei," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Dr. Wei confirmed it at 12:45 p.m. These are human bone fragments, phalanges, finger bones, and metacarpal fragments. Adult, sex undetermined, advanced digestion. Consumed approximately 2 to 3 days before death. The lab went completely silent. 6 scientists staring at the examination tray, understanding flooding in this Bigfoot, this person named Cascade, had eaten a human being. Marsh appeared immediately when we called. "Continue. Document everything. Test everything." By 1:30 p.m., we'd separated the stomach contents into categories. Human bone, 6 fragments identified. Human soft tissue, estimated 200 grams plant material, large quantity, unusual selection, unknown organic material. Then our toxicologist, Dr. Hammond, analyzed the plant material yarrow, anti-inflammatory, wound-healing properties, white sage, antimicrobial, used ceremonially by native tribes. Devil's Club, powerful immune system stimulant. Pacific yew bark contains cancer-fighting compounds. Willow bark, natural aspirin, pain relief. These aren't food plants, Hammond said slowly. These are medicinal plants, deliberately consumed for therapeutic purpose. At 3:30 p.m., Dr. Wei made another discovery under the microscope: cut marks on 2 bone fragments, clean, straight cuts, consistent with a metal blade. The flesh was removed from the bones using a tool, Wei said, not teeth, an implement. By 4:45 p.m., we'd isolated 3 distinct DNA profiles from the human tissue. Victim 1, female, 35 to 45 years old, Northern European ancestry. Victim 2, male, 50 to 60 years old, Native American ancestry. Victim 3, male, 20 to 30 years old, mixed ancestry. All consumed within the same time period, 48 to 72 hours before Cascade's death. Tissue from different body parts, muscle, organ tissue, adipose. No evidence of violence in the specimens themselves. They were already dead when he consumed them. At 6 p.m., spectrometry results came back on the unknown organic material: beeswax, pine resin, oxidized plant compounds, material consistent with ancient preservation and embalming techniques, traces of juniper, cedar, aromatic herbs, material consistent with body preparation for burial. At 7:30 p.m., Dr. Wei presented his complete assessment to the team. Based on the evidence, here's what I believe happened. Specimen B-C117 found 3 human bodies, already deceased, possibly avalanche or accident victims in the mountains. He removed tissue from the bodies using tools. He consumed portions of the tissue along with medicinal plants. The presence of burial preparation materials suggests he was in the process of preparing these bodies for some kind of funeral rite when he himself was killed in the avalanche that preserved his body. I heard myself say the words before I'd consciously formed the thought. He wasn't hunting humans, he was mourning them. The realization crashed through me like a physical force: funerary cannibalism, a cultural practice documented in various human societies throughout history. The Wari people of Brazil consumed deceased tribe members as an act of respect and love, to keep them close, to honor them. Cascade had culture, death rituals, spiritual practices involving deceased humans found in his territory. Bigfoot had been finding and burying human dead in the mountains for how long? Decades? Centuries? Longer? My God, someone whispered. Marsh's voice came through the intercom, cold and controlled. Complete your documentation package, all evidence. Prepare your final reports. You are reminded of your non-disclosure agreements and the consequences of violation. That night, I couldn't sleep at all. I lay in the darkness, thinking about 3 people who'd died in the mountains, maybe in an avalanche, maybe lost and succumbing to exposure, and about a being who'd found them and chosen to honor them in the only way his culture knew. He'd prepared their bodies with medicinal plants that perhaps had spiritual significance to his people. He'd participated in a ritual that involved consuming part of them, keeping them close, showing respect through incorporation rather than abandonment. And then he died performing this act of kindness. We'd repaid that kindness by cutting him open on a steel table under fluorescent lights. We were held in the facility for 11 additional days after the autopsy concluded. Individual debriefings lasting 6 to 12 hours each, psychological evaluations, threat assessments. We were told this was a potential threat to national security if the information leaked. We signed additional documents. The penalties were clarified again and again: 20 years in federal prison. I'd managed to copy 47 photographs to a personal encrypted drive. Before they confiscated my devices, I memorized critical measurements, DNA sequences, findings. I kept detailed written notes in code in a personal notebook they never found. The tissue samples were labeled and stored with tracking numbers I committed to memory. If I ever needed to prove this happened, I had the coordinates. The official final report read, "Unidentified primate specimen, likely hoax, inconclusive results, no further investigation warranted." The DNA results were marked contaminated samples, human DNA from handling errors. Cause of death, undetermined due to specimen degradation. disposition. Remains incinerated as biohazard per protocol. But I saw them transport something in a refrigerated container on March 29th. They didn't incinerate Cascade. They moved him somewhere else. I returned home on March 28th to my husband Michael's suspicious questions. 3 weeks for a routine case? Classified, I signed documents. I can't discuss it. The hurt in his eyes was immediate. You can't tell your own husband? I can't tell anyone. Federal law. That was the beginning of the end of my marriage, though I didn't know it yet. My daughters, Sophia, 17, and Emma, 15, noticed I'd changed, withdrawn, distracted. Every night I dreamed about Cascade's face, the stomach contents, the finger bones wrapped in medicinal plants, and funeral offerings. The years that followed were a slow descent into obsession. In April 2019, I began researching funerary practices and burial customs in every culture I could find documentation for. I discovered over 200 documented cases of funerary cannibalism across human societies. The pattern was consistent: consuming deceased loved ones to keep them close, show respect, help their spirits transition. If Bigfoot had this practice, it implied symbolic thought. Religion, culture, everything we denied them. In July 2019, Dr. Wei contacted me through encrypted email. Have you been researching this too? We need to talk. We met at a coffee shop in Eugene, both paranoid about surveillance. Wei had found 3 historical accounts from the 1890s through 1920s, Native American stories about forest people who took care of human dead stories from the Pacific Northwest, Northern California, British Columbia. Large hairy beings would find bodies of lost hikers, carry them away, sometimes arrange them with flowers and stones. Over the next 6 months, Wei and I found 14 historical accounts matching the pattern. 6 modern, unexplained cases of hikers found dead but moved from their death location, arranged ceremonially. 2 cases with unidentified hair at the scene. Bigfoot had been finding and burying human dead for over a century, maybe longer. In January 2020, Dr. Patel reached out. They're lying about the DNA results. I kept a backup of the real results before they ordered me to falsify my report. He confirmed Cascade was closer to Homo sapiens than any known hominid, 98.7% match. Divergence 400,000 to 600,000 years ago. Cascade wasn't a separate species. He was a human cousin, like Neanderthals. The COVID pandemic in March 2020 provided strange cover for our secret research. Video meetings were less suspicious. The 3 of us, Wei, Patel, and I, stayed in regular contact. Morrison and Hammond, the other team members, wanted no part of our investigation. Morrison actually warned me. They're watching. Stop investigating. Protect your families. But I couldn't stop. In June 2020, using my still active security clearance, I searched the Federal Wildlife Forensics Database search parameters: unidentified primate, unknown hominid, Cascade protocol. 9 other cases over 30 years appeared in the results. Cascade wasn't the first cases from Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Northern California, British Columbia. All autopsies, all classified, all with stomach contents containing unusual material. The government had been covering up Bigfoot evidence for decades. My marriage deteriorated through 2020. Michael's words became sharper. You're obsessed with something you can't talk about. I don't know you anymore. We argued 3 or 4 times a week about secrecy, distance, priorities. My daughters asked, "What's wrong with Mom?" I was always working, always distracted, always somewhere else mentally. Even when I was physically present, we tried couples counseling, but I couldn't discuss the real issue, eating away at our relationship. How could I explain that I was haunted by a Bigfoot who died honoring human dead, that I was investigating a government cover-up, that I was risking everything to expose a truth that sounded insane when spoken aloud? January 2021 brought a breakthrough. Wei found an obscure academic paper from 1934 by an anthropologist named Dr. Robert Haversham. The paper documented 7 human burial sites in the Cascade Range. bodies arranged in stone cairns covered with branches, surrounded by offerings. Haversham noted that local Quinault informants spoke of tall forest guardians who honor the dead. Haversham vanished in 1935 during a follow-up expedition, declared lost in the wilderness. In March 2021, I used vacation time for a week-long solo trip to the Cascade Range. I told Michael it was professional development. I searched using coordinates from Cascade's original discovery site, looking for burial sites. On day 4, at 6,200 feet elevation, in a remote valley, I found a stone cairn, weathered remains inside, 2 or 3 years old, arranged carefully, covered with cedar boughs, surrounded by river stones in a circle, and in soft ground nearby, large footprints, 17 inches long, very old but consistent with Cascade's foot measurements. In May 2021, 2 FBI agents visited my lab. "We're aware you've been accessing certain classified databases. We're watching. Stop." They knew about my trip to the Cascades. They mentioned my daughters by name, the schools they attended. The message was clear: back off, or your family suffers. I told them I was researching standard wildlife cases. I denied everything. But I realized I was under active surveillance, phone taps, computer monitoring, possibly physical surveillance. In September 2021, Michael asked for a divorce. "I can't live with your secrets anymore." I faced an impossible choice: tell him everything and break my NDA, potentially facing prison, or lose my marriage. I chose to let the marriage end. I couldn't make him complicit. Sophia and Emma chose to live with their father. They saw me as obsessed and absent. 18-year marriage, daily relationship with my daughters, the family home, all gone. But I rationalized, some truths are worth everything. By November 2022, Way published an academic paper in the Journal of Pacific Northwest Anthropology, Unattributed Funerary Sites in Cascade Range, Evidence of Unknown Cultural Practice. He documented 12 burial sites, strange arrangements, unattributed to known tribes. The paper generated modest academic interest, but no mainstream attention. Its real purpose was establishing a public record of the pattern without mentioning Bigfoot. In February 2023, I reached a decision point. I would never get official acknowledgement from the government. I could stay silent, keep what remained of my career, never see justice for Cascade, or I could go public, lose everything, possibly face prosecution, but tell the truth. The tipping point came in May 2023. I saw a news report about Jennifer Morrison, a 28-year-old experienced hiker, missing in Olympic National Park, 5 days of searching, no trace found. The location was remote area near Lake Quinault, known Bigfoot territory. I knew what would happen. In 2 or 3 weeks, when the snow melted, they'd find her arranged carefully, surrounded by offerings. Her family would never get real answers. I couldn't watch another family suffer in ignorance. I made lists. What going public would cost, certain career termination, professional reputation destroyed, medical license likely revoked, potential federal prison, 5 to 20 years if prosecuted under the Espionage Act, daughters already distant would be disgusted, savings depleted by legal fees, possible retaliation from the government. What staying silent would cost. Cascade's dignity denied, the 3 victims in his stomach, their families never knowing they received honorable burial, future families like the Morrisons never understanding their loved ones were cared for. Scientific truth suppressed, my own integrity destroyed by complicity. I researched precedents, Daniel Ellsberg and the Pentagon Papers, Edward Snowden and NSA surveillance mixed outcomes, but both chose truth over silence. I consulted a civil rights attorney without explaining why. His warning was stark. The Espionage Act has no public interest defense. If it's classified, disclosure is a crime regardless of content. I reread my autopsy notes from March 2019. I looked at the secretly saved photo of Cascade's face, those peaceful eyes. I remembered the pouch around his neck, the carved wooden figure, the forget-me-nots. He was a person, I thought. He was mourning people, and we cremated him like evidence. I'm a doctor. I took an oath to do no harm. Continuing the lie, harmed everyone. I contacted Karen Reeves, a science writer at the Washington Post known for breaking stories on government suppression of scientific data. Through encrypted email, I outlined my story vaguely. Government suppression of scientific discovery. She responded within 12 hours. I'm interested. Let's talk. We met on May 15, 2023, in a Portland hotel conference room. I paid cash, used a burner phone to arrange the meeting, drove my own car. I spent 3 hours explaining the entire story, showing all my evidence. Reeves was appropriately skeptical, verified my credentials, asked about corroboration. Why now? She asked. After 4 years? Because another family is suffering right now, I said, and I can't stay complicit anymore. Within days, I noticed signs of surveillance. The same vehicle parked on my street for 3 consecutive days. A man sitting in the car for hours watching my apartment. Clicking sounds on phone calls. My work laptop booting slower than normal. On June 2nd, 2 FBI agents requested I come to their Portland field office. They interviewed me for 2 hours, asking about recent activities, contacts with media, database searches. I denied everything. They delivered their warning clearly. Your NDA is still in effect. Violation carries serious penalties. Then they mentioned my daughters by name, Sophia and Emma, and their schools. The threat was explicit. Comply or your family suffers. I called Michael. In the next few months, there might be news about me. It might be bad. Tell the girls I love them. What have you done? Are you in danger? I'm doing what's right. Please trust me one last time, and please protect the girls from whatever comes. He hung up. At 3 a.m. on June 12th, I sat in my kitchen, unable to sleep, questioning everything. Was I doing this for Cascade or my ego, for truth or vindication? What if there was a good reason for secrecy? What if going public caused panic, led to hunting them down? But no. I saw what I saw. The DNA didn't lie. The stomach contents didn't lie. Suppression had failed to protect them for decades. Maybe recognition would. On June 15th, I met with Reeves again. She'd spent 6 weeks investigating, corroborating my account. She'd found 3 additional witnesses, confirmed burial sites existed. We planned a long-form investigative piece for the Washington Post, 8,000 words publication, targeted for 3 months later. Reeves gave me a final out. Once we submit this, there's no taking it back. Are you prepared for what comes? I signed the release form, authorizing use of my name, credentials, testimony. I could have been an anonymous source. I chose to go on record. If I'm asking people to believe this, I said, I have to stand behind it publicly. That evening, I sent an encrypted email to my daughters through Michael's address. Sophia and Emma, I know I haven't been the mother you needed these past few years. I've been carrying something heavy. Soon, you're going to hear things about me in the news. People might say I'm crazy, or a criminal, or irresponsible. I want you to know I'm doing what I believe is right. I'm standing up for someone who can't stand up for themselves. I'm telling a truth that needs to be told. I hope someday you'll understand and be proud of me. I love you more than anything, Mom. Sophia blocked my number the next day. Reeves submitted the article to the Washington Post on June 20th, 2023. Federal scientists suppressed evidence of human-like species with funerary practices. 9,200 words. 6 named sources including me, 4 anonymous. 23 photographs with faces redacted for dignity. DNA analysis. Burial site documentation. The Post's attorneys spent 2 weeks reviewing for libel concerns. The editor's decision. This is the biggest story in science in decades. We're running it. Publication was scheduled for September 15th, 2023. I found a criminal defense attorney and prepared for federal charges. His assessment, if they charge you, it'll be the Espionage Act. No good defense, expect 5 to 10 years minimum. Then I'll serve it, I said, but the truth will be out. On September 10th, the Department of Justice filed an emergency motion in federal court to block publication grounds. Disclosure of classified information poses immediate threat to national security. They claimed the entire Cascade Protocol project was classified. Therefore, any discussion of it was prohibited. The judge granted a 30-day temporary restraining order. On September 11th at 6 a.m., FBI agents appeared at my door with a warrant. I was charged with violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 793, the Espionage Act, unauthorized disclosure of classified information. At the bail hearing, the prosecutor argued I was an ongoing threat. The judge denied bail. I was transported to federal detention in Portland. My daughters refused to visit. Michael sent a message through my attorney, "You've destroyed yourself." But sitting in that cell, I felt strange peace. I tried. I did everything I could. The rest was out of my hands. I spent 98 days in federal detention. October bled into November. The media covered my case. Scientists jailed for trying to publish research on Bigfoot. Public reaction divided sharply. Some thought I was delusional. Others saw government cover-up. The scientific community rallied. 242 scientists signed a letter demanding my release, arguing for scientific freedom and First Amendment protections. In court, my ACLU lawyers argued the case brilliantly, but the government held firm. The article remained blocked. Evidence remained sealed. I sat in my cell reading limited news, cut off from the outside world. Then, on November 8, 2024, at 11:47 p.m., a guard arrived at my cell. "You're all over the news. Someone leaked your story." They let me watch TV in the common area. Every channel showed the same thing. Someone had posted the full Washington Post article, all 47 photographs, complete DNA analysis, and my autopsy report simultaneously on WikiLeaks, Internet Archive, 4chan, Reddit, and Twitter. The source was unknown. File metadata scrubbed, posted through Tor network, professionally done, impossible to trace. The leak went viral instantly. 4.2 million downloads in the first 24 hours. Trending #1 worldwide, every major news outlet covering the story, and there was nothing the government could do to stop it. 6 university genetics labs independently analyzed the DNA sequences from the leak. All 6 confirmed 98.7% human match. My analysis was accurate. Primatologists reviewed the physical descriptions. No known primate matched. Anthropologists examined the funerary practice evidence. It showed cultural sophistication. Scientific consensus began forming. If this was real, it was the most significant anthropological discovery in history. On November 12th, I received a letter through prison mail. No return address. Postmarked Washington, D.C. Single-typed line. Some secrets are too important to keep. The world needed to know. A fellow scientist, someone from the original team, someone with a conscience. On November 18th, Dr. Patel called a press conference from the steps of Stanford University. "I am one of the scientists who examined the specimen in 2019. Dr. Chen's account is accurate. I verified the DNA analysis personally. The government ordered me to falsify my report. I complied out of fear. I can't stay silent anymore." A second source, major credibility boost. On November 20th, Nature published the peer-reviewed version of our article, "Evidence of Funerary Cultural Practices in Unknown North American Hominid, Analysis of Specimen B, C117. All the formal scientific rigor independently reviewed, academically sound. The government could no longer deny it effectively. They tried. Department of Justice statements, FBI investigations, White House, no comments, but the information was public. The evidence was in the world. The truth couldn't be suppressed anymore. My ACLU lawyers filed an emergency motion to dismiss charges. Information already public, prosecution serves no purpose but retaliation. The judge agreed. He offered a plea deal. Reduced charges to misdemeanor, time served, 5 years probation, no admission of wrongdoing. I accepted immediately. I wanted to go home. I walked out of federal detention on December 18, 2024. 30 reporters waited outside the courthouse. I gave them one statement. I did what any scientist would do. I told the truth. I don't regret it. The world deserves to know that we share this continent with another species of human, and they've been honoring our dead for centuries." Someone shouted, "Do you think there are more out there?" "I'm hopeful," I said. "If we know they exist, maybe we can protect them. Maybe we can learn from them." The aftermath came in waves. I was fired from my federal position. My medical license came under review. I lost financial security, my reputation in federal science. 3 months of my life. Friends abandoned me. My family remained fractured. Sophia still refused contact, though Emma sent one email. "I think I understand now. Love you, Mom." But something had shifted in the world. Bigfoot moved from fringe pseudoscience to legitimate anthropological inquiry. Universities launched research initiatives. 14 schools announced plans to investigate burial sites. $18 million in research grants flowed into what was now called Cascade Hominid Studies. Over the next 11 months, researchers confirmed 7 burial sites in the Pacific Northwest. All contained human remains with ceremonial arrangements. Hair samples from 3 sites matched Cascade's genetic profile. Statistical models suggested a population of 400 to 800 individuals across North America. The government still hasn't officially acknowledged anything, but they stopped active suppression. The truth was bigger than their secrecy now. Today is November 13th, 2025. I'm 55 years old. I live in a small apartment in Eugene, Oregon, 2 miles from the University of Oregon campus. I work as a forensic consultant for a private firm, occasionally helping university research teams studying Cascade's people. I'm still on probation for 4 more years. I'm still in debt. Though a book advance helped, I'm living modestly but managing. Emma emails me now. Short messages, but she emails. She's asking questions about what happened, trying to understand. Sophia still won't respond, but Emma says she's softening. I hope someday they'll both understand that I chose truth over comfort, integrity over security, that I stood up for someone who couldn't stand up for himself. Last month, I hiked to the site where they found Cascade's body. It took me 3 days to reach it. High elevation, remote valley, rugged terrain. Someone had built a cairn there, stones carefully stacked, surrounded by forget-me-nots growing wild. I don't know who did it. Maybe hikers who'd heard the story, maybe researchers, maybe someone who understood what happened there. I added a stone to the cairn. I sat for an hour looking out over the valley, old-growth forest stretching to the horizon, and I could almost believe that somewhere in those trees, one of his people was watching. Maybe knowing their kin had been acknowledged. Maybe knowing we finally understood. I think about Cascade often, about the 3 people he was honoring when he died, about the centuries his people may have spent finding our lost loved ones and giving them dignity in death, about what it means that a species we called monsters were more human in their compassion than we were in our fear. If I could speak to him now, I'd say, "Thank you for keeping the tradition, for honoring those 3 people you found. I'm sorry we repaid that kindness by cutting you open on a steel table and trying to pretend you never existed. I'm sorry it took me 4 years to find the courage to acknowledge you. I'm sorry for what we've done to your forests, your habitat, your kin. You taught me that humanity isn't defined by species. It's defined by how we treat the dead, how we honor the lost, how we create meaning in the face of mortality. By that definition, you were more human than most of us. I lost everything to tell your story. My marriage, my daughter's daily presence, my career, my freedom for 98 days, my financial security, my reputation. But sitting in my small apartment tonight, looking at the printed copy of the Nature article with my name in the author list, I know I'd do it again. Some truths are worth any cost. We're not alone on this continent. We never were. Somewhere in the mountains, Cascade's people are still living, still surviving, still honoring our dead when they find them lost and alone in the wilderness. That's the most important scientific discovery of all. Not that another species exists, but that they've been showing us more humanity than we've shown them. The stomach contents of specimen BC117 contained partially digested human remains from 3 different individuals, along with carefully prepared medicinal plants and what appeared to be funeral offerings. Now the world knows why. Now everyone knows what I learned from cutting open a frozen Bigfoot. We're not alone. We've been cared for by beings we denied existed. And maybe, if we can protect them now, if we can honor them the way they've honored us, we'll prove that humanity, real humanity, transcends species boundaries. That's Cascade's gift. That's what he taught me. That's what cost me everything and gave me back something more valuable, the ability to look at myself in the mirror and know I did the right thing. Some secrets are too important to keep. Some truths are worth everything.